This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather, ho there, Chef Cutter down. Welcome to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, September the 14th, is a former player, coach, and executive in hockey. He was Boston royalty for the late 60s to the early 90s, being the coach, general manager, and team president for the Bruins in that time, and was even coach of Canada during the Summit Series in 1972. He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame and in the IIHF for international hockey. They're Hall of Fame in 97. His name is Harry Sinden, who's still alive at 91 years old. Harry Sinden was a legend. He was a defenseman that went to Oshawa in the OHA, the precursor to the OHL, and did well. And with Whitby, he played in the senior division. Not in the NHL, but he played in the senior division, which helped Whitby win the 1957 Allen Cup, or the Canada competition for senior teams. Players who are not in the NHL and all that, but in a high level. And then, as was tradition back then, the winner of the Allen Cup got to be the team that went to the World Hockey Championships for Canada in Oslo. So Sinden played for a World Championship squad, and then he was part of the 1960 Canadian national team, men's hockey team, when they went to Squaw Valley, California. And you'd be thinking, California hosted a Winter Olympics? Yeah, it was a mountainous town. But the problem was they didn't really have snows, so they had to get resources. Canada, I believe, Canada took silver behind those pesky Americans. Well, the Americans beat the tar out of the Czechs, because when the Americans were down 4-3 after two periods, the Russian captain came into the U.S. dressing room and mimed like an oxygen mask, and that's when they realized they could use an oxygen mask, and they used oxygen to win. Anyway, Canada took silver. That was a shocker. Now, of course, Sinden was one of 4 players from Whitby that was added onto the team. The team actually was the defending Allen Cup champion, Kitchener-Waterloo Dutchmen. But they wanted to add some players, and Sinden was added to the 1960 Olympic squad. Montreal wanted to negotiate with Sinden, but they didn't reach an agreement. So after playing in the Eastern Professional Hockey League with Hull-Ottawa, he met Lynn Patrick, GM of the Boston Bruins, who signed him to a player assistant coach thing for Kingston, the Bruins EPHL affiliate. And then he would move on to Minneapolis and Oklahoma City, coaching Oklahoma City to the 1967 championship. Anyway, Sinden was placed as head coach of the Bruins in 1966, becoming at 33 years old, the youngest coach at the time, coaching the youngest team. Boston perennially would be aiming for that 4th place finish, but they couldn't make the playoffs. So his first season with Bobby Orr on the squad. Now, contrary to popular belief, Orr was not drafted by the Bruins. He was actually signed as a 12-year-old by the Bruins using a C form, I think it was. I can't remember, but yeah, Oshawa. But anyway, Boston was lucky because the Blackhawks made a trade getting rid of Phil Esposito, Ken Hodge, and Fred Stanfield. And the Bruins just gelled as a team and posted a winning record. And then in his 3rd season, the Bruins just missed out on number 1 spot in the NHL, which was Montreal. But in his 4th season, he coached the Bruins to their first Stanley Cup in 29 years, and it was amazing. Unfortunately, Sinden would have a rocky relationship with Bruins management during the championship season, and Sinden decided at age 37 to walk away from the Bruins job. But the club placed him on a voluntary retired list, meaning that he couldn't take a job with another hockey team for a year. So he went through home construction and all that. Sinden was actually given the chance to be the Islanders head coach in 1972, but turned it down. Big mistake. Well, it actually wasn't a big mistake. Al Arbor would soon be there. But anyway, he rejected Toronto and St. Louis too. It was like, wow. And then Canada Hockey named him the head coach and manager of the Canadian team for the Summit Series between Canada and the Soviet Union, and was tasked with building a roster that could compete with the Soviets. Of course, everyone thought that Canada was going to beat the tar out of the Soviets in the 8-game series, but it ended up being Canada needing to win on the final day. So anyway, thankfully though, Canada showed up in the Soviet Union after a disappointing 1-2-1 finish in Canada. They were 3-1 in the Soviet Union. Esposito was the leading scorer in that series. Anyway, within days after the Summit Series, the Bruins wanted to make him their GM and gave him a 5-year deal. So Milchschmidt, the legendary player for the Bruins, was succeeded. He was made executive director. Sinden would be the Boston GM for 28 years before stepping down in October 2000. So imagine the Bruins without Harry Sinden. Well, yeah, the cup wasn't there after 1972 because when he was named general manager, Boston had just won the cup without him. So anyway, his 28-year tenure was close to the 30-year tenure of GM Art Ross for 1924 to 1954. Anyway, Sinden would be club president by 1988 and was the chief executive of the Bruins until 2006. He had a lot of greatness and all that, helping the Bruins get to 29 straight playoffs, which is still the North American professional record, much alone the NHL. Regardless, he helped the Bruins make the finals 5 times: 74, 77, 78, 88, and 90, losing each time. 74 to the Flyers, 77, 78 to the Habs, and 88, 90 to the Oilers. So anyway, there was a lot of controversies and all that frequent fire with the Bruins, from the Bruin fans. He actually refused to honor a salary arbitration award and let Dmitry Kristich lead the team without compensation. Well, I can't blame him for that. All that. So anyway, as a consultant, he got his name on the 2011 Stanley Cup. And the Bruins broke their drought, 4-decade drought. Anyway, the Bruins were big. Of course, the biggest problem with Harry Sinden was his run-ins with Don Cherry. If you read Don Cherry's book Grapes, which he wrote in 1983, you could see how Sinden and Cherry clashed, even though that Boston was doing quite well and almost got to the Stanley Cup Finals in '79. Because Boston lost that famous Game 7 when Guy Lafleur scored the goal after the Bruins had too many men on the ice. It was Stan Jonathan, if you must know, because the great Liam McGuire told me so. So anyhow, Sinden didn't like Cherry's style and all that, and basically was going to get rid of Cherry at the first opportunity if Cherry did not win the Stanley Cup. Would the Bruins win the Stanley Cup in 1979? I say yes. I mean, you take out the Montreal Canadiens, the 3-time defending champs. You have momentum on your side. Regardless, there was trouble. As a head coach, he actually came in 1985 and had to be the head coach for a while. 24 games. He was 11-10-3. Oh, in 1980 he was coach for a while and was 6-0-1. Surprised that he didn't finish. But anyway, yeah, 4 great years as the main head coach. All that. 67 they missed the playoffs. 68 they lost in the quarters. 69 they lost in the semis. And then 1970 they went to the finals and won the cup. So he was 153, 116, and 58 as a coach. So Sinden and his wife have 4 daughters and reside in Winchester, Massachusetts. He was actually the godfather of Gord Downie, the lead singer of Tragically Hip. It was like, wow, I can't believe he was the godfather of Gord Downie? Anyway, Ian Sinden was in a couple of stories. Canada Russia 72, the miniseries, and TV special Keep Your Up Kid, the Head Up Kid, the Don Cherry story, when, you know, Cherry and Sinden would have those major gripes with each other. So that's what happened. And fun was had, as Harry Sinden helped bring Boston into respectability, and you can bank on that. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do